So this is chapter 8, and we are going to basically turn this ship into this graphic. And over on this side, we've got a background that we'll use, and we're going to use some vector-based tools to separate the ship from its background. And this is a perfectly legit use of how this is going to work. So we're going to go to the pen tool, and we're going to draw a path. Now the path will actually create paths over in this panel over here. So actually I'm going to pull this one out so you can see this, and it's going to live up here. That's okay. Actually, we're also going to move a few things around here. I'm going to move the start file over here. Hello, let's try that again. There we go. And then we're going to focus strictly on this one. So I will go to Consolidate All Tabs, and then I will hit Command 0 to fit to window. Of course, that is going to be Control 0 on the Windows. Okay, now I will tell you that some of these vector-based tools are a little tricky. And I might just do a little video on how I prefer to work, but this will do the job right here. So I'm going to go to my layers, and quite honestly it doesn't matter where my layers are because we're going to be creating a path. So this is actually pretty simple. If you look at these dots here, we're going to click on those, and if it has any corresponding letters like this one over here, then when I click and drag, we'll drag some handles down here. Okay, so I'll go click here, plain old vanilla click, and then this one's going to be a click drag. So now I'm going to pull out a handle here. Now notice the dot that I'm actually holding with my cursor there, we want to put that on that red dot at letter B. So I'll drop that there. Now this is where it gets a little confusing, so hang with me here. This handle that I just pulled out of this point, this is an anchor point, we kind of don't want that handle to show up. So what we're going to do is we're going to hold down the Option key or Alt key on Windows, and it will get rid of that extra handle. Just click on the anchor point like this. There it goes. Now we can do some more clicking and dragging, and we'll do that same kind of maneuver every now and again. And I'm going to do from D to D, endpoint D, also here. And there's no point on F, so I'm just going to do a vanilla click right there. G to the G point right there, looks good. And then H to the H point, also looks good. Okay, now we're going to go, now here's the weird one. I, and then the other I goes over here. Now if I do this now, okay, it actually kind of looks weird here, because we've got a handle that isn't really working for us. So I'm going to take a step back, excuse me, Command Z to get rid of that. And I'm going to do that same maneuver we did before. I'm going to hold down the Option key and get rid of this handle by clicking, Option clicking on H point right there. Okay, so we actually created, you know, that extra handle using the other H point, but now we don't really need that. So now we can go do I. So I point out to I. And now you can see how the curve comes around here and it shapes on the engine there, which is pretty nice. I don't remember if we have to do that same trick on I. We'll see. Let's see. J to J. Look how that curve goes. It is going completely the wrong way. So yes, we have to go back and retrofit this. So I'll hit Command Z to undo that. And I'll do that trick where I get rid of that extra handle and Option click on it. There we go. And we will do this again. J to J. And now this curve looks right. That's cool. We'll go K to K. And that looks decent. How does L to L look? That looks good. Now there's no secondary M letter, so we'll just do a vanilla click here. Click. And then N to N. Looks good. There's no secondary O, so we'll just do a vanilla click there. Same thing for P. Q does, so we'll click and drag Q to Q. And that looks pretty good up there. Vanilla click here at R, and also at S. And that looks pretty good. Now when we click the final point here at at A, we were going to drag out the handle until this final point over there. So let's see how this works. And click and drag, And that looks pretty good. Now it doesn't show us the handle, and quite honestly, I don't remember why. It's not that important, okay? But now we've got our path here that is quite clearly over here in the work path, and this path, this vector-based path, is a lot like a layer mask. I'm sorry, the white is positive, the gray is negative. So you'll see how this goes as we go along. Let me check my notes here, and let's see, we've done that. We can turn the template off. Now the book says to throw the template away, but we really don't need to. So we'll turn off all those letters. And let's relabel this, and we'll call it Spaceship. There we go. And now I'm going to click on this spaceship layer down here because we're going to try some other tools. There's a lot of tools down over here for working, down over here with the working with the paths. And what we can do is go get, I could use the magic wand or the quick selection. I'll go to magic wand, and our default tolerance is 32, which works out great. And sorry, I needed a drink there. It puts marching ants on the gray area. Now we might even add a little bit more there. I'll do a little plus sign and kind of click on that, all that gray. That's great. And what I can do now is, since I've saved this with a different name, then this layer, this path layer, is actually protected. Okay, so I really can't mess anything up. But I'm going to click in this negative space right there, and now I can go to the bottom of the paths panel and click this one. This will actually turn the marching ants into a selection, a work path. And we're going to relabel this fin. And you can see it right there, what it looks like. And it looks like a shark fin, which is pretty cool. Okay. So let's see, next thing, we've already converted that. We need to now take the spaceship and we'll turn it into marching ants, which is just click on that layer there and then turn it into what looks like marching ants there, which is great. Now we'll click on the fin, and we're going to subtract this fin from the marching ants. So here's how this is going to go. We're going to go up here to the make selection thing from the flyout menu, and then it asks us what kind of selection do we want. Well, we want to subtract this from the marching ants, and we'll click that, and there it is. It's selected. Okay, so what we're going to do with this now is make a duplicate layer. So in this case, I'll do the keyboard shortcut this time, which is Command J. It's the same thing. Well, you know what? I'll do the menu version. Layer, new, layer via copy. It's Command J. It's the same thing. And you can see now that we've got a new layer, but notice you can see that there's no background there. So I'll turn off layer 1, and you can see how great a job our selection did on the cut. Did a very nice job. So we'll take this, and okay, we don't want to put this into the final version. We do want to put it into this background. So let's arrange our documents, and we're going to go to 2 up vertical, and I will go to my spaceship and get the move tool, and oops, sorry, I had to move these layers around. There we go. Let's see, we'll take the spaceship layer and drag it into our scene, and it looks pretty good there. I'm going to move it a little bit. Well, we're also going to rotate it. So this is Command T, and that puts the transform tools on there. And we're going to rotate this by about a -12 degrees. Actually perfect right there. Hit enter to confirm my change. This background here is getting a little lost. I think I'm going to move this spaceship just a little bit so it pops against the background. Let's see what that looks like. Well, it kind of gets lost pretty much against everything unless I'm going to move it up there, and then it's too high. So I guess we'll just go with that. Right about there. Super. Okay. In fact, we don't need this document any longer, so I will save it, but I'm going to close it. Okay. And now we can compare and contrast with... Okay, so maybe I should move my original, or move my ship down a little bit more. Just a little bit. It's not going to be perfect. I don't want it to be exactly perfect, but it should be closer. Okay, so that's nice. Okay. So the next thing we want to do is turn on the retro shape guide, which is this guy right over there. And we're going to use this. I'll turn off my ship momentarily. We can actually relabel this as spaceship, of course. I'm going to turn this off temporarily. And let's hit Command 0 to fill this to the window. Okay. Now I'm going to start down here and just click on that as my starting point. And with my pen tool, I'm going to create what's called a shape layer. So that's why I changed this up here. And I'm also going to change the color. We're just going to put it in as white to start off with. We may change this later. Okay, now we're going to do something similar to what we did with the spaceship. I'm going to drag A to B and then C to D and so forth. It's pretty self-explanatory. So I'll drag here. So basically all I'm doing is drawing the handle out from the anchor point. Okay, and I'll move all the way over here and drag this out and drag this one out. Now we stopped doing letters because I think it's pretty obvious where this is going. So we'll click and drag here and then put one over here and then put one up here, and then we're just going to go up to A to close it up, which is right up there. Awesome. And from that point we can actually turn off the retro shape guide layer. And I don't, oops, what did I just hit? I don't need this any of these anchor points visible any longer, so I'm just going to click in the negative space here and we're great. Okay, now we're going to turn on the star. Oh, actually, you know what we need to do? We're going to change the color. So let's change the color of this guy to like a cyan, which is that color. Nice. Now we'll turn on the star guide layer. Now I'm still going to keep my shape. We'll call this retro shape. Shaple? Did I not label that correctly? Shape. There we go. And this guide that we've got going on here, this circle, is meant as just a template. So this is really simple. Now here in the rectangle tool, there's actually quite a number of tools we're going to use. We're going to go to this guy here, polygon tool. Now here's what the polygon tool looks like. I'll just do a quick example. It draws, in this case, a 5-sided shape, a pentagon, which is because this says 5 sides up there. Okay, we're going to change this to 11 sides, and we're also going to change this into a star, and we'll just leave the indent sides by 53%, just like that. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to create something that looks like this. Okay, not too difficult. Undo. But we want to do it in here, and what we want to do is basically use that shape to cut a hole, a star-shaped hole into this blue retro shape. Okay, so what we've got to do is we've got to tell Photoshop that what we're about to do is we're going to cut into it. So we need to make the shape we're about to make a negative. Okay, now if I set this to subtract, okay, what should happen is a minus sign should show up on my cursor, but it's not. So what I'm going to do is over here and click on this retro shape here. Now the anchor points are not showing up, but you can see the outline. But look what happens. You can see that I've got my minus sign on my cursor now. Okay, now I'm just going to use this circle as a starting point. So I'll put my cursor dead center on that right there, and I will click and drag, and I'm going to put the endpoints out to the edge of that template. Boom, and it cuts a hole. I'll turn off the guide layer there. Did it do it right? It did. It cut a hole in that shape, and that's what we wanted. Okay, so we're going to move ahead. We've turned off the retro. We did the star. We did the star guide. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is create a new pattern. So let's click on the background layer, and we will create a new layer and call it pattern. And this time we're going to go do a shape that's a custom shape tool. We'll go here, and this is where you find custom shapes. Now recently you probably saw me do a demo in class where there were libraries of shapes. This is no different. This has a library of all kinds of different kinds of vector-based shapes. If you want to poke around that, please do. We're going to go to this guy right over here, kind of this double checkerboard black-white deal. So we'll click on that. And we're going to create, we've done shapes, we've done a path. Now we're going to do pixels. So this is kind of like painting, but now we're doing it with a particular shape. Okay, I'm going to turn my spaceship back on. And with my pattern layer going on here, actually I can close up this path up here. Cool. We're going to change the color of this shape as well. This is going to be white. Cool. And we're just going to draw some big shapes. I'm going to hold down the Shift key. That keeps it proportional. Because if I don't keep the Shift key down, you know, you can do all this kind of squishy stuff going on over here. But if I hold down Shift, all I can do is just scale that. Okay. And I'll do a couple more here and there. Maybe put one back over here. Maybe one up here. Let's see, maybe a little tiny one down here. Okay, 5 or 6 should do it. Let's do a couple of things. Let's turn the retro shape down with the opacity. Let's drop this down to about 40%. Cool. And for the pattern we just did, let's drop this down to 75%. About that. Looking pretty good. Cool. Let's check the list. We've done that, we've done that, we've done that. Cool. Let's put a title in here. Now the title is going to use, I mean there's a number of ways. We could open the title layer, which is actually an Illustrator file. We could open it in Photoshop and then drag it over. Or we could do this. Let's go to the Place Embedded. So we're going to actually open this file and then place it into, as though it is a layer, into the document. So we'll place embedded, and that's called title.ai. Hit place, and then it asks you what you want to do here. So we'll, I guess we'll just do the page like that, and click OK. And it's thinking about things. Spinning beach ball of death. There we go. Notice that it's actually hidden behind this spaceship. But I can click inside this box. Notice that my cursor changes to the black arrow so I know I can move it. And here's the great thing about vector-based shapes, is that you can scale them up. This is not a pixel-based layer. This is truly a vector-based layer at this point. When I scale it, and by the way, again, holding down Shift key to keep it proportional, I'm going to set it about that size right there. And we can move it around a little bit more. That's nice. Now when I hit the check mark, it should leave it as a pixel-based layer, which is kind of unusual. Actually, I'm sorry, you know what? It left it as a smart layer, so it is vectors at some level. Okay, now what we're going to do is, we've already discussed layer masks in Photoshop. Now we're going to add a vector mask, which pretty much works the same way. But here's how it goes. Okay, down here it says add layer mask. So you have to hit that once, and that puts a layer mask on there. But we want to add a vector mask. So now look what happens. If I put my cursor down here, it says add vector mask. So I'll click that. Now I've got my layer mask here and my vector mask going on over here. Well, I don't need a layer mask. I'm going to take this and dump it in the trash. Boom. So now I've got a vector mask going on here. So what we're going to do is go back to the Shapes tool and go back to the Polygon tool where we created that 11-sided star. So we're in good shape. And we're going to make sure that this vector mask is selected. You can see the brackets around there. Okay, so we're going to use the Path tool of the star shape. I believe I've set this already to subtract, but I'm going to double check. Subtract, there we go. And all I'm going to do is make sure, yes, that is, I'm a little suspicious about that. And I'm going to go over here into, notice that there's a minus sign on my cursor, and I will draw a shape there inside that O, and it cuts right out. And I'll do the same thing on this little guy right over here. And it's a little hard to see with my screen mask on there, but it should work okay. And there we go. I'll click over here in pattern so it cleans up, and there we go. We've cut 2 holes in there as vectors, as a vector mask, using the star shape tool, which is really the polygon tool. Pretty cool, right? Okay, last thing we need to do is to create a little copyright notice. So I'm going to go to the copyright tool here and type a little something. Copy, you know what, I'm not going to do this in a bad place. Let me put this in a better place. Put it over here for a moment. And Myriad Pro, we're going to go size 10. That's cool. And we'll say copyright, C-O-P-Y-R-I-G-H-T, copyright. And then I'm going to use the copyright symbol, which is Option G. And it's actually that little star, or not star, it's a little, the letter C with a circle around it. So it's a circle C. Copyright, Scott Boyer Productions. We'll call it that. And then we're going to go down here and use this rotate tool, and we're going to rotate the image. I'm going to hold down the shift key. That will quickly snap that to 90 degrees. There we go. And I'm also going to rotate this thing over here. So I'll go to the actually move tool. Make sure that that layer is selected. Great. And Command T will put the controls on that. And I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees. Hold down the shift key so it snaps to the proper angle. And I can put that up there like this. Spacebar here. And I'll put this over on this side. Nice. I'll hit enter to confirm. That looks nice. And I'm going to go back to my rotate tool here and rotate this back into place, holding down the shift key, and there it goes. I believe that's it. Now, if you notice here, this looks a little different. In fact, let's hit Command 0 to fill this up. Got to use the move tool first. There we go. Command 0, there we go. And Command 0 there. Should be the same. Why isn't it the same? There we go. In fact, I can hit Command Accent and go back and forth between here. Okay, so there's a couple of differences. Obviously, the patterns are slightly different. The size of the title is a little different. You may notice that they've got a white retro shape here, and I think for some reason that just didn't translate. Now, also in the book, there's this process where they make little grass shapes out of the shapes tool, and you know, it didn't wind up going in the final thing they present us here, and I really didn't think that was all that important. So and as usual, I don't want you guys flattening your layers when you turn them in. I want everything visible with your layers. The only thing we might do here is to go to the flyout menu here and go to delete hidden layers. Now we've got a couple of hidden layers, which is the star guide, which is that thing here, and the retro shape guide, which was this stuff here. And we can just, oh, I'm sorry, it would help if we were in the right document, huh? So star guide and retro shape. And we can just delete that stuff. Delete hidden layers. Boom. Up. Delete hidden layers. Yes. There we go. Now it's all nice and tidy. And that's it.